sounds like somebody who's got your back.
Yeah. Even when you're not working, you got my back. They never stop. Yeah.
The door's opening, so I'm going to start moseying over there.
Okay.
Yeah. I text you, all right? Like,
So I just stay on, correct?
we're just getting ready to go set up and do our thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go in and set up right now. What's that? Yeah. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are
We're
you?
sitting in there, yeah?
Yeah, I guess.
Perfect.
I'm trying
to
to set up
your camera and your computer so I can figure out where you're going to go. I'm going to go do that right now.
I'm just making
All right. We're inside the unit here.
Radical!
Let's see.
Radical!
Let's see.
Radical! No! Reception! No!
Are you sitting down or standing up?
So I might just stand, which might be easier.
Hello there. I'm just getting ready to do this podcast thing right now. Actually in the studio, so I can't talk right now. But let's try to talk late. I'm at NAMM show
But
today, so
that-
tomorrow let's try to chat, okay? Okay, thank you. Bye.
We lost all our internet, Perk. We'll get back. We're getting it back online.
Oh, okay. Should I call you back or stay?
No, stay on.
You got it?
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi again. Yep. Now turn back sideways again and see if it goes the
Are
long
you guys
way.
interviewing Robin?
We're gonna interview Jerry Palumbo.
Jerry, okay.
Robert is
Sweet.
We're gonna need
JBL?
somebody to be able to walk through here. That's the only problem. Yeah. Like we're gonna have a guest walk through here.
Yes, I'll put a camera back.
What if you when that camera goes?
Let's see if this is his camera. Let me double check.
That camera's not gonna pick us all up.
Okay, and then I need this. Hold on.
She's on old voice.
What was that? I took the audio off.
Hold on.
Like on my 30-second.
There we go. That's much better.
That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna see if that is it right now.
Why am I scratching?
So, you want me to, for my segment, you just want me off camera, I'll just hang out here and then we'll switch out or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have like you and Jerry.
Okay.
We'll pop in and maybe if you want to come, maybe since we're here, why don't we do Jerry first and then we pop you in towards
Okay,
like after Jerry.
yeah, I have nowhere to be, so
Okay, perfect.
I'll just be around.
Okay.
Who's talking? Who's that?
This is one of the key people for JBL.
Oh, great.
We're gonna have JBL and we're gonna have my friend Jerry Palumbo. Who
That's
is
right.
actually-
How did everything go Wednesday?
It was good. It was
I was
good.
in Dr. Smith, the pediatric dentist. Dude, he's got pictures. He's like 75, 80. He's got pictures of Drew Barrymore as a kid and Christina Applegate as a kid. All these kids getting their teeth done in Beverly Hills back in the, I guess, the 80s or 70s. But it took forever to get the fuck out of there.
Feel good.
Please pull it back a little, but pull it back and turn it a little, and maybe point it down just a little, because Kenny's a little dark. I don't know if we have
I have a light, but
maybe we can turn that
Right here,
light on.
Perkins.
Yeah.
Kenny's in dark. Kenny's in the dark.
We're all just here.
Perks, we changed my flight. I'm gonna be able to do Tuesday now.
Awesome, my man. We're going to do the Hotel Ziggy Stardust.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
are. Or Ziggy, the old comic strip guy too.
It's gonna be tight on that little space. We're gonna make it work.
you haven't seen Tide until you've been in a JBL truck.
Okay. So Kenny, Sheila, can you scoot back further, like
I don't
closer?
think this thing moves. It doesn't move.
Kenny's in the dark, but everybody else is lit from my point of view.
Because
go.
Kenny's.
I
Oh,
can
that's
stand.
better. That's
Yeah,
actually.
there you go.
I haven't smoked yet today, so I'm not lit yet.
You're like, let me do something with this so it's not on your commuting camera.
God, I haven't
So we may be live, and if we are live and you're watching us right now, just sort of bear in mind that this is sort of a first for the Rock and Talk Show. We're live at the NAMM show in the JBL trailer here, and we're trying to figure out how to make everything work.
And
We're
they
in
don't
the hub, the
realize.
most technologically advanced audio and video in the world, and we're trying to figure it out right here.
Right here.
Dave Moss,
Yes.
you don't realize that trailer is moving and you guys are on the way to Vegas.
That's right. That's right. How do we sound, Bert? Do we sound good?
Yeah, you guys all sound clean. I mean, you're the only one talking, but I heard Kenny and Sheila earlier.
So I'm not
Okay,
sure which
hello.
mic we're going through. Like, I don't know if we're
How about
going.
this? Do I sound louder?
This is hot.
No, you did not get louder. No.
Okay.
Let's move this a little bit.
Huh?
Is that thing on?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, that's what it's about.
No, that's like the David Letterman one. It's fake.
Oh, Wayne, we're live. We are live.
Okay.
We're live. We're live, folks.
We're live.
Hi, Pete.
PG. No for
Hey, Miss Wayne.
We're live. I don't need to be troubleshooting, sorry.
No, you're great. I'll take all your troubleshooting.
Need to get up here.
We don't know. What does that say right there?
It says wide stereo.
Okay, so it's on. How about now? Does that change anything on the audio perk? Does that change anything?
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We sound okay? We're loud enough?
You sound clean, but did not change anything as you dialed.
You can also do this as a duplex where it will pick up on both sides.
That's what we're just.
Yeah, you want to go duplex. If you're going to stay in West Hollywood, you need a duplex.
She lived in the coolest house in West Hollywood.
There's stories
ever.
there.
She lived in the last known location in the U.S. that Jim Morrison lived in on Franklin.
Norton.
Norton, excuse me.
Whoa.
Yeah, he used to come party there. We used to do the NAMM crawl.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't the NAMM crawl. That was
No,
that was the Santa Monica
That
crawl.
was the Santa Monica crawl.
Okay, so we want
Dude,
to.
the NAMM,
That
the
is.
NAMM-thrax has got in your brain already.
Oh, Perk, how about now? How do we sound?
That's
Better?
terrible. You got Godzilla breath.
We did. Can you hear us better or worse?
Oh my God, you're totally blown out. You sound like Black Sabbath, Part 3.
What about now? Does that do anything?
It's way too hot. Pull it down. Pull it down.
How about, I don't know if that's pulling it down or not.
You're totally distorted. You're totally distorted.
Okay, still?
Yep. Keep talking. You're gone. Can't hear you.
8, 9, 10, 1,
Perfect.
2.
Perfect.
Testes.
Okay, thank you
How
very
about
much.
you guys
Sherry's
talk?
got it. I want
This is
talk. Talk. 1, 2,
No,
3.
This is
Nice.
How are you, Talk?
Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So it's
Good.
really gonna.
Okay. How about me?
The space for the demodulator.
Good. If you guys talk over each other, it mutes. So make sure you give each other a chance.
Yeah, so you heard what he said, right? He said talk. If you talk
white.
over each other, it'll mute it. So just make sure that the person that's talking before you finishes what they're saying, so it doesn't mute the person that's talking.
Let me ask you, Perk, was it better like this or before before we figured out how to plug the mic? Because I could use
I think everybody's more balanced now.
Okay,
It's
great.
because what I did is I changed the pattern to pick up in the back as well as the front, so that you can get everybody.
How do you know that stuff?
Because because I knit for a living.
Yes.
Also,
Don't go far, because
if you
I
guys
think we're
want, if you
We
guys
are
want
live.
to lean in when you speak, if you want to lean in, and that probably would help.
Yes.
copy that.
Okay.
All right, well, listen, I think
Norwood's coming in.
Those
We're able to do
Canada,
this.
thank you, COVID.
I mean,
through all
just
of
think
this.
about this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
Right?
We've got people all over the country freaking dialing into our show,
Isn't that great?
and they can use a cell phone.
Yeah, it's great.
Exactly.
all right, what do you guys think? Are we ready? We are live, right?
Oh, no, we're
Remember,
live.
By the way, the camera is right there.
That's the
People are
camera.
hitting me.
Okay.
Okay? The little blue thing is the
Okay,
You
camera.
wanna,
that's what
you
we're
wanna,
talking.
want me to slide in this way a little bit so she,
I'm good.
Kenny,
so we
you
can,
look,
I don't wanna see the
Kenny,
video.
Oh, yeah,
Kenny,
you're
you
perfect.
look
We'll
so
face that way.
handsome, Kenny.
Doesn't move.
I know it doesn't
That's
move.
fine. We're good. You're good.
There's
What
an
is it?
imposter on your
Whoa.
show
I look
today.
What does it
handsome.
look like?
This is Norwood here,
Norwood.
filling in for Norwood.
Ah,
I don't know what.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
cool.
Norwood. All right, listen, I think we're gonna start the show. You guys ready?
All right.
Norwood's on?
No.
No, we're
but
just.
text Norwood
Okay.
because we're in our time right now. So
Okay,
we're
let's
gonna
go
ahead.
3:15.
Are you texting him?
Yeah,
Here
I'll
we
text
go.
him.
We're live.
Hi, welcome to the Rock and
the
Talk
show.
Show. Hit the intro.
Here we
Hit
go.
the
Boom.
intro.
Time out. False start.
Oh,
False
Okay,
start.
hi, welcome to the Rock and Talk Show.
False
Hit the
start.
intro.
I'm just about ready to hear that joy and
It's all right. We're good. We're good.
Deja
We got
vu,
it.
vous day, vous day,
Here we
deja
go. Here we go.
The Rock and Talk Show, Beyond Backstage, with your hosts, Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss.
Rock and Talk Show live from the JBL truck at the NAMM show. This is the bi-monthly show that dives deep into the entertainment industry, the stories and culture around it, the music, the business of it, and everything in between. I'm the Moss Man. We got Sheila Conlon over here.
Yeah.
We got the one and only legendary Kenny Olson. We got Scotty Page. And over online with us, we got Stephen Perkins in the room, who sadly couldn't be with us here at NAMM. But this is the first time we've ever done this live like this, where we're all in the studio. And we've got my dear friend here, who I'm so excited to see, Jerry Palumbo.
Jerry.
Legendary. Amazing engineers in the business. Live broadcast engineer. Jerry.
And she's a knitter. She's a knitter by trade.
Can I say what I said to you out there?
Yes.
I busted his NAMM cherry.
She did.
Moss Man's NAMM cherry. I said, come with me. Let me show you how we do NAMM. First of all, how we work floor, which was a little bit insane, totally different, pretty nerdy. And then how we do after NAMM. And they're both on steroids, right?
Well, and it wasn't NAMM and after NAMM. It was like all above.
Yes,
it was everything.
Wait, how old were you guys?
This was like 15 years ago. 15 years ago.
So you're about 22,
Yeah.
22, 20?
But you're only 21 right now.
We met through our Little Feet connection.
Oh, okay.
But Jerry, like, just so everyone knows, Jerry is literally one of the most badass engineers in the business. And we're here celebrating NAMM. It's the first NAMM in a couple of years now. And we're sort of focusing on what's going on in NAMM. So tell, like, just a little background. What do you do? Tell us
Wait, real quick question. Listen, when you hear a drummer, do you think I'm going to mic the drum set, the drummer, the room? How do you go about a drummer? Do you despise miking a drummer? Is it the way, is it pleasant? What's it like when you have to mic a drummer?
Well, it's been a long time since I mic'd a drummer, but it depends on what you're going for. Sometimes it's nice to mic the room. Sometimes it's nice to mic all the drums, which is overkill. If you want to isolate things and really tune those drums, it really depends on what you're going for. Because if you go back and look at some of the old Phil Collins stuff, you know, where they would just use single mics and it was just fantastic. You know, old school, sometimes it's better. I think getting too many tracks is sometimes your enemy, but it really depends on what you're doing. But just to clarify, I don't do that anymore. I do NFL and NBA. So I mic players and snoop mics and field goals and punts. And
I know, but that's cool, because I was talking to Eddie Kramer and he said the same thing you did. They overkill. Just because they can doesn't mean they should. And if you put 20 microphones on Mitch Mitchell, you wouldn't have got the performance you got on if 6 was 9 and, you know, et cetera. So thank you. And let's go back to David Moss' real question. What do you do?
Just a comment on it. We've all become victims of overchoice, right? That's what all this has done. We don't have to commit anymore till the end. And we kill records that way.
We totally kill records.
I was noticing, like, also, you know, I'm a guitar player, but I've been in the studio many times and produced a lot of stuff with drums nowadays too. But I love what you're talking about, the room mics, various mics, because when I start putting samples on stuff, the cymbal decay, like for the original track, has always been something that really filled all those voids in a track. And when you hear stuff nowadays, you really, once you realize that's missing when they start sampling all these like samples on a snare, bass, even though the real live drums being played, every time they sample it, there's all of a sudden that cymbal decay that was naturally being, or the beautiful mistakes in the room are being picked up and it goes away.
That's right.
And that's what's happening a lot in modern stuff that's recorded, because they don't, no one's thinking about that, or they're listening to music in a small speaker. They don't hear and they miss the sounds. And that's something that, as a guitar player, even though I'm, you know, a guitar player's body, but as a drummer, you know, a fan of being able to play with great drummers like Steve, where you want to hear in the recording, you want to
Yeah.
You know, that's so.
You know, and it's so
nowadays.
funny because, you know, when you go back and you listen to some of these records, because we had some things that we thought were mistakes, they became the most beautiful part of the
Yes.
record, right?
The beautiful
Because at the time we
mistakes.
would go, oh, we got to fix that, right? But then we couldn't sometimes in those days, but now it's like, oh, I got to fix everything. And then we
Right.
fix everything to the
And-
point that there's nothing
And
left.
the
Right.
best stories are too, like you've got so many stories where, like we're talking about beautiful mistakes for these, and going back and reflecting on those moments, we recorded it and the funny stuff that happened. I mean, there's things that someone could have just bumped over and leaned over and knocked over a coffee or something, and somebody, you know, whatever. You never know what's gonna.
Well, it's
be
just like
that
Kenny Lee was telling us about the Steve Miller tune when he whoop whoop.
Yeah.
What happens? They were in the
right.
studio at the time, and this girl walked in. They went whoop whoop. That's it.
They
Keep
left
it on.
it.
Well, they were trying to
That's
figure
beautiful.
out the lyric. Like he couldn't figure out, not the lyric, but the guitar lyric that he wanted for this particular part of the song. And his girlfriend walked in looking all hot, and he just did a
I
cat call
love
on the
that.
guitar. And Kenny was like, "That's it. That's
That's
great."
fantastic.
And we got that on the Rock and Talk
That's
show.
right.
Oh, that's awesome. But see, if you think about, you guys are live musicians as well.
Yeah.
And when you go out and you play, you're playing to a live room.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're going back old school, you really are trying, again, everyone will say this, you're trying to capture the performance.
Yeah.
And when you put triggers and things on there, I think that it can make drums and things sound
Oh, yeah.
really awesome. But at the end of the day, are you going to be able to duplicate that when you go into a live environment? And is
Yeah.
that something that you want to do with your records as the end
Exactly.
product? So it really,
You know,
Like,
you know,
even
depends.
and you find all
guitars.
these trigger things
Yeah.
where they say, "Oh yeah, it's only 5 milliseconds or 4 million," and you're like, "Are you kidding me?
yeah, right?
4 milliseconds?" It's like,
Guitars, when the-
Yeah, you know what I love about the studio. If you think about like Zeppelin, the studio performance is a 180 from the live performance. They used the studio as an instrument, and then when they got on stage, it was like a power trio with a guy in a tambourine, and it's all you needed. And you know, and it's a different beast. But you're right. If you want to replicate what happens and reproduce it, sometimes you have bands that have extra musicians or they play the tracks, etc. But yeah, the best thing about being on stage is listening to each other.
Yeah.
And in the studio, a lot of times you go separate and there's no listening. You're just like by yourself. And it's like, and that also takes the air out of life. You know, it's like, what happened to the dance, man? I'm dancing alone. Hey, I do it alone a lot. We all do, but come on. You know,
I've also found with guitar tracks,
Lean
like,
in.
even when they have like a digital signal in there, you're either going to be too loud or too low in the mix because there's no frequency to grab. There's like no hair to cut. It's already cut. It's like this, and like when you want to find that dynamic, you know, mix and stuff where the dynamics of the guitar part. And I find like a lot of these guys will come in when I'm producing something that I'm not playing, and I'll tell them that. But with all this digital stuff, I'm like, well, you know, and I'll look at the engineer. As far as when this record's being mixed, your ops is either going to be too loud or too low because of the way the frequency you're recording at. And you're definitely not going to be too loud when you leave this room when we're sitting back here and start mixing it because,
Right.
you know, it's all about, like Steven said, playing to the song. We do that live in the studio. You got to.
And the other thing to think about too is who is your mixer and what are you delivering to your mixer? Do you want to deliver 150 tracks just because you had the ability and the you know what I'm saying? You have the ability now to deliver as many tracks as you want, and you start laying things down over and over and over again. There's a lack of commitment to that performance. You just go, well, I can eat up as many tracks as I want, and I'm going to deliver them to my mixer, who's now got to sort through that, and they've got to make the decision on what your best performance is. And so the commitment is not on the front side; it ends up being in the mixer
then
side.
you get the phone call from a guy like me. Go, no, there was like on the eighth take.
Exactly.
I did this little beautiful mistake in there. That's what I wanted there. Not that part.
Exactly.
Listen,
It's not a mind reader. It's like they do the best that they can to give you the final product. But if you deliver too much,
we always think they're going to pick the best stuff, and I can't tell you how many. You're right. Every time I hear these things, I'm going, "You didn't pick that part? Why did you use that?"
it's subjective. Audio is subjective.
Yeah.
Everyone hears differently. You hear differently than
Right.
than you. You know what I mean? And so we're all going to hear that a little differently, and what that we feel the best performance is.
Well, let me ask, did you start out in music?
I started out in music.
Okay, so yeah, because we didn't get
This
to
is Juilliard School of Music.
yeah,
right here.
so tell us
No joke.
how you
here's how this starts. It's like, oh, you went to Juilliard. What are you doing out here doing NFL? And I was like, well, I'm making a great living. I'm getting a really nice check. It's just such a long story. Yes, I grew up around jazz musicians, and I had musicians. My grandparents were jazz musicians. So I took it for granted, right? You grow up, it's just like second nature. We always had recording. I had an old reel-to-reel, and then it went to cassettes. And I would layer and make hash out of all these horrible, it's terrible. But I started arranging at about 14 years old because this is where, high school teachers can be godsends to you. And they're like, you just have a knack for music theory. I think you should do this. So I started arranging, and he was like, well, pick something to arrange. I tell this story. And I was like, oh, okay. I think I'll pick Getaway by Earth, Wind & Fire. Which, hello, you guys know this is not an easy song. No. And I was like, I put so much pressure on my 14-year-old self that I didn't have time to see my friends or enjoy months. I was like, oh my God, it's got to be perfect. And, if I had any advice, it's like, enjoy your teenage years and do things in small increments, because you'll still reach your goal without stressing yourself out. You'll still get the same end game.
And engineers, to me, you go on a record and it's like there's so much how we all work together. And engineers, to me, whether some people are like, oh, I produced all that, but when you're really digging into the song and recording that and getting the beautiful mistakes and recording all that, it's really where so much of the amazing production really is.
Yeah, the great engineers, because what I really hate is you get these engineers and you go in there and they'll give me the kick drums down, and like for 45 minutes they're pounding on the kick drum. The spirit's up, we just rehearsed, we're getting ready to go, and then they just keep whittling, or they don't go. You got to go back. They're slow at moving. They don't realize that it's like we only hit a moment, because when you do you could do 3 takes in a row, right, with the whole rhythm section, and each one is totally different, even though you did them exactly at the same time. So it's that spirit when everybody connects, and that's the magic.
It's catching the performance.
It's catching that performance.
A really good engineer is like another member of your band.
Exactly.
They're symbiotic with the way the band thinks, and they're trying to capture the performance more than the perfection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was so cool. We had Don Randy on the show a few months ago, and hearing his experience with, of course, what was going on in California and Los Angeles and the Beach Boys and Sonny and Cher. And there was a sense of freedom, but also they had everything perfectly set, written. And he said, I think he was saying one of the songs on Pet Sounds may have been 3, 4, 5 months before before Brian Wilson said, I consider it done, even though we're not done, but we'll call it a day, but it's like almost the opposite of what we're all talking about. But at the same time, it's this it's a tapestry, it's a painting, it's a Rembrandt, and you don't rush it, and you don't even talk to the guy who's doing it. You just let them do it, and you'd be lucky to be part of it. But Don would say he would be driving down PCH, hearing a song on the radio they cut 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden it's a #1 hit. And then the next song on the radio was the next song he played on, another #1 hit, It's just incredible.
Guys, I want to switch back.
I want to go on this subject. I was going to say, one of my favorite stories, I was working with Eddie too, like seeing his song through the years. Eddie always had these amazing stories, the Zeppelin thing. But my first experience really going to a recording studio when I was a kid, the engineer had worked on Ohio Players' Fire song.
Gosh,
and he said how that song was written. That song was literally written because of him. They were in the studio and these fire trucks go flying by the studio, and he ran out and grabbed and started with a microphone and started recording the fire trucks really going down the street, and the bands in there started jamming. All of a sudden,
I love that. It's one of my favorites.
Now the engineer ran out there and recorded.
Certainly one of the greatest album covers of all time, right?
Yeah.
But let's switch back to NAMM, because we're here at NAMM, and we're focusing on, it's the first NAMM in a couple of years. We also got to let everyone know where our brother Norwood is, because Norwood would normally be here with us. But George Clinton called up Norwood and said, I need a bass player because my crew all ended up not being able to get out of London from their last gig. So Norwood's in Miami playing with George Clinton right now, and that's why we're missing him. But
fill in those studios because Norwood is the man.
But listen, we've been walking around. We got some clips. We want to give a vibe of what's going on. So here's a little clip from yesterday. Walking
We're
through
here at the NAMM show. We got Andy Vargas and Will Dog. Andy from Santana, Will from Ozomali,
Philip Ruiz,
and Kenny Olsen. The Rock and Talk Show. We're just all how's it feel to be back at NAMM for like 2.5 years? We've been gone.
Man, yeah, it feels good. You know, we got to be here to support everyone, and there's less people, so we can get more love.
Exactly. Ozomali, what are you guys doing? Are you on the road? What are you guys doing?
We're here at NAMM right now. But, yeah, we just played with Los Lobos the other day in Nashville. That was fun, and looking forward to more.
And Asdru's playing with you guys, right? Is Asdru playing with?
He did. He came and jammed with us often. He also plays with Sal Santana. They have a cool vibe together, and so he comes and joins and plays with us whenever he's around.
And what are you guys doing? Are you playing on the road? What are you guys doing now?
In 2 weeks we start a tour with Earth, Wind & Fire, Santana, Earth, Wind & Fire.
Fucking A. Yeah. Awesome. Well, there it is, live from the floor of NAMM, the Rock and Talk Show.
Yeah. So there's a little vibe. We've got a few more clips that we're gonna pop in and show.
I wanted to tell the people that are sitting at home in Birmingham, Alabama, listen, the NAMM show, I went there in the 80s and it was incredible, but it's really for merchants and people talking about the new gear and spreading their ideas, all these great music makers, and they have cymbals and pedals and guitars and mandolins. They're presenting them to all the merchants, and then the merchants buy as many as they possibly can and put them in the stores for the next year. So the NAMM show is all about new gear, new relationships, and then great jams all night. That's the NAMM.
And we're at JBL Harmon.
That's
which
right.
has some of the best equipment ever, right?
Oh yeah, we love JBL. Legendary.
JBL, AKG, one of the best.
Oh yeah, AKG,
Yeah.
which we're using now. And we're in the truck, in the media truck in Hall A at NAMM.
Yep.
So we couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell my NAMM story. So I came here. My first NAMM is when my father introduced the wah-wah pedal, because he was one of the inventors with Brad Plunkett back in the days. So that was Chicago NAMM show, and I actually played trumpet through, because the original wah-wah pedal was designed for woodwinds. It wasn't designed for the guitar. That's why it was called the Clyde McCoy wah-wah pedal, right? So all I can say is I've been to over 50 NAMM shows. So I have been doing this
The real
a
OG,
long
right?
I'm the OG right here.
And I get my brother Scott, and I get, I'm a crybaby be the guitar player.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I only have a few pedals in my pedal board, but that is definitely a must.
And I own the first one. I had it for years, and I lost it. It got lost. I had it. It was on a piece of plywood, and it was like an organ pedal that they kind of did with the pot and made it home. Because my dad said to him, he said, "Brad, can we make my saxophone sound like Clyde McCoy, the trumpet player?" Wah, 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 wah. That's why the original wah-wah pedal was called the Clyde McCoy wah-wah.
That breaks my heart that you don't have that. I hate.
And my dad started Sound City too. It was originally called Box.
You gotta be kidding
Yeah, so that's where I grew up. I went into Sound City.
Gosh.
Yeah, you talk about it. So I went in that night. I came home from school. My dad said, because he started the amplified instruments, and Vox basically came in and funded because they wanted to make wind instruments like guitar players, right? So we came home for dinner. He says, "Look, we got to go find this place. Go look at this building." Went there. It was Sound City. I remember going. There was 4 walls. Said, "Yep, it was there." 2 days later, he met with Joe Ben Aaron, who was CEO at the time. Got that place, then built it out. It was called the Vox Sound Lab originally. And when you listen to the Dave Grohl movie, he says, "Oh, it was a warehouse." And then I used to set up chairs for James Brown to record in that space before it was time. So crazy times, man. All this.
Scott, is some of that story in that book? Don't junk it, flunk it with the trumpet Plunkett. Is that the book? Is that the right thing?
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you've done NAMM for 50 years, how has it changed?
That's a really good question. It got a lot bigger. That was one thing.
And a lot freakier?
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, there's no question. I mean, They even have people they have purple hair now.
And
First
orange
of all, let me
dresses.
just note Jerry
And
has
orange
different colored hair at every NAMM. Just let's get that on the record.
How is it freakier?
Yeah.
Just
no.
the people. I think just the way people, musicians and everything is. Remember, there was a lot. Band instruments were really big back in the early days, right? It's not quite as big. The guitars took over like crazy, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
I've been a ton of these things.
It's cool because I work with a lot of music stores. I do clinics, and it's amazing. Some of the stores just do marching band and university and sheet music. They don't have and gospel, church, nothing to do with rock and roll and jazz. And it's a great world of musicians. And those cats can read music, not like us rockers. You know what I'm saying?
They knew all the chords back then.
So now we just say, somebody says, "Can you read?" And you say, "Yeah, but not enough to hurt my playing."
I'm still I'm so heartbroken with that story you just told me that was gone.
I know, I lost it. I can't believe it.
I hated hearing that story. It's a fascinating story.
You've
but,
heard that story before.
No, but the fact that it's gone, it drives.
Believe me, it drives me
I
crazy
should be
too.
the guy who recorded with the first
Losing
Wawa.
the
I'm in a band with
it.
the guy.
It's history.
I wanna also pay a quick a shout out to our dear friend Randy Fuchs from
Oh, yes.
Artist Relations. Randy had an event Wednesday called the Endorse Expo.
The Artist Endorsement Expo. He does it every year.
And I screwed up the name every opportunity I was given. So Randy apologized. But we got a quick little interview with Randy. And I think I want to pop that on real quick. So
Awesome.
Here we go. Randy Fuchs.
Another OG.
Well, here we are at the 2022 Artist Relations Artist Expo with
Endorse
Randy,
Expo.
Endorse Expo. I'm sorry. With Randy Fuchs. This is the first time we've done this event in two years now.
Yeah.
Thanks to COVID. How's it feel to be back doing this? First of all,
I love my job. So to me, this is great. I live for this stuff.
Yeah.
So I love, not only do I do this for the brands I work for, I really love the fact that I get to introduce people that should know each other that don't.
Right.
And then see where that musical community grows into what they do and collaborations they do together and stuff like that. Well, we are at the Sound Factory on Selma Avenue. And the purpose of the Endorse Expo, it's designed for well-known musicians, sidemen, and big solo artists and recording engineers and producers to meet with manufacturers in a way where they get to learn about gear. Dealers aren't allowed, and it's not open to the public. It's a private event. And so that's what we're doing here. And the way this whole thing started was there was a band we were doing some work with, and I met them backstage at the Billboard Awards, and I asked them what they thought of a product they got for me. And the guitar player said, "I know it's a great product, but I just can't wrap my head around how to use it." So did a little tutorial, showed him how it worked. Next time I saw him, he said, "I love it." I said, "How can I replicate this?" So I figured, you know what? All the brands go to NAMM. Why don't I do this a couple of days before NAMM? So that's how we started it, and we invited a lot of artists.
So 26 years of doing the Artist Endorse Expo. You got any crazy stories or memories? Anything?
Yes, but I can't share them.
Okay.
So I won't.
Share the ones that you can.
Well, one of the things that's, like I mentioned, collaborations and people working together.
Right.
And this has to do with the people on the Rock and Talk show.
Yeah.
So they met Derek Day.
Yeah.
At the
Actually,
at the Endorse Expo, and he wanted
in
to play
2019.
And they met Will Champlin,
Yeah.
who does some work with you guys, and
Yeah.
Tom Claxton is also a great singer too. One of the nice ones is, and this was from I think the last Endorse Expo. You guys were doing a Pink Floyd song. I came up into the microphone and said, "You got to stop." So you stopped, and everybody looked at me like, "Why are you stopping the song?" And I said, "Because Roger Waters' son, Harry's here. He plays in the Roger Waters band. Why don't we have Harry come up and play keys with you guys?" So that's what he did, and it turned out to be just really great and a magic moment.
Randy Fuchs, thank you.
David Moss.
Thank you, thank you.
Rock and Talk Show.
Yeah.
Good job, Randy. And there it is. Randy Fuchs, our buddy. Well, we're going to say goodbye to Jerry. We're going to let Jerry. Thank you, my
darling. Thank you for having me, my brother.
Thank
you.
Thank you. And we miss Eric.
We miss Eric. Eric's over. It's my partner, and we want to bring in the wonderful people from Harman and JBL and AKG that sponsor things like this. They sponsor things for me as well. And I couldn't be more proud to be part of the Harman family. So I'm going to turn it over to them. Thank you guys for having me. Have a great day.
We'll see you later.
If you don't show up tonight, we're not going to play.
So Dave, come on in, Dave. We're bringing in.
Follow Jerry.
We're bringing in the big guns right here. Give us an intro. David, what's your role with JBL?
So I'm the head of communications globally for Harman Professional. So all the professional brands fall under my purview, and I'm sort of the evangelist and tell the story.
And your name is?
David Globkey.
There we go.
And how long have you been with it?
I'm going on September will be 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we were talking earlier, like JBL is like the god of audio and engineering and sound and microphones. Like, talk about the legacy of JBL, because this is how many years now?
Well, we officially celebrated the 75th anniversary of JBL for its official founding in 1946, but our legacy actually goes back before that. So James B. Lansing, where we get the JBL, he was a radio speaker manufacturer engineer in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City. He was actually, I think he was born in Illinois.
Okay, I knew he was from the Midwest. Or something.
He was from the Midwest, you're right.
We used to think he was from Michigan because of Lansing, but then I got corrected later on. I think all these other companies, we used to think that, but then I was...
You were wrong.
Well, he had, so he came to Los Angeles. Actually, you know, we're like 20 miles away from like where James landed. Yeah. But he came to Los Angeles because it was the hotbed of manufacturing for radio.
Yeah.
And 1920, the late 1920s, we had talking movies. And so the studios were trying to figure out how to solve the sound reinforcement issue with talking movies, because it was more than, because no more organ and piano, right? Now you actually have the spoken word. Not only the spoken word is to create the illusion that the spoken word is coming from that image in the center of the screen. So MGM Studios sound department so hated what was available that they put together a conglomeration of engineers to create the Shearer horn, which ended up becoming the first real cinema speaker. And James B. Lansing was in charge of the manufacturing part of that. And so the U.S. government broke up the film industry, and so they did an offshoot of the sound department, and Altec Lansing was born, and he did an offshoot eventually of JBL. He couldn't take the word Lansing with him, so that's how he ended up with JBL.
Wow.
Quick question. Do you Perkins here? How are you?
Hey, Perkins.
Hi. Listen, the gear, well, I'm 54, so I remember when I was 10, JBL was already the coolest thing you could get your hands on. So, but I was wondering, when you think about going to a movie and they've got 8-10 speakers on the left, 8 and 10 on the right, and some in front of you and the subs, you know, who does all that math? How does that come together? Is it a team, each theater? Because I know JBL, when they put their stuff up, they don't let someone else just hang it where they like it.
Yeah, well, listen, we work with some of the best integrators in the world for audio, and they have a way of mapping and being able to create the sound design in cinema. And, you know, it used to be if you think of the slope, Perk, of an old movie theater, it was a slow slope of seats, right? Now, all of a sudden, we went to the
bleachers.
The bleachers. Well, that created a whole new issue in the sound design on where the placement of the speakers, but the latest development actually created more of a sophisticated problem, and that is that Samsung is introducing LED screens. So instead of, when we think of a movie theater, we think of that center channel being put through a porous movie screen.
Right.
Now you've got plastic.
Right.
Right. So how do you image the center channel when you can't pass it through the middle of the screen? So Samsung and JBL got together and they actually created these reflector horns that are actually putting a frequency, bouncing it off the screen back at the audience, but it's not for decibels. It's actually a neuropsychological
Feeling.
trick.
Wow.
Jesus.
So it's telling the
Wow.
audience everything that you hear on the left and the right and above, re-image it as if it's coming from the center of the channel. It's
Wow.
unbelievable technology, and it took a long time to develop, but that's sort of the future of where
So, you know, it's interesting because, you know, JB, I've been part of the kind
Wait,
of.
we have a special guest joining us.
Oh.
I don't mean to jump in, but we have our brother Norwood Fisher.
Where is he?
From the road. Is George Clinton right now. What up, Wood? We're in the JBL. We're talking with David here about some JBL history and some amazing technology that's like mind-blowing. So, welcome to the show, Norwood.
Hey, well, thank you, mate. I'm in Orlando, played with George Clinton earlier. It was a hair-raising adventure.
Aren't they usually, though?
I was I got a story to tell. It was
Is it a story you could tell us right now?
it's just traveling, you know, like my flight got canceled at my layover in Newark. So it was a lightning storm, I believe, over Newark. And it was the whole airport was thrown into a tailspin. So, you know, I ended up sleeping in the airport to get the earliest flight out.
Oh, well, that's good.
Anybody could fall.
If anybody can sleep, man, we call him the hibernator because he sleeps every.
You guys know when
I did.
You know, when you play with George Clinton, he gives everybody's diapers because the travel and the stage time is going to be long.
Oh my God. You get a travel pack of Pampers.
Exactly. It was amazing. I got there and went straight to sound check, and the band helped me, you know, kind of tighten up what might have been missing, but it wasn't enough. I was still like they got some arrangements that, you know, you can't take for granted. And but it was an amazing show. And then, like, you know, I was called out because a bunch of his band members got COVID in Europe, in England. So they were sequestered in England, but you know, like less than halfway through the show, Lige Curry, the bassist that I was called out to fill in for, showed up. He had tested negative, flew all the way home to San Diego and then back out to Miami yesterday. And
wow.
And actually, I saw him. I finished up what I was playing, maybe play one more song, and then, man, get your ass up here and and
so,
you know.
I heard it was like a new strain. It's like the Jubilee COVID.
You know.
Really strange.
Well, if there's anybody, like if you ask Billy Bates Nelson or Bootsy Collins, anybody who would be the man who could come and save the day, it's Norwood Fisher.
Yeah, Norwood. Because Norwood will sleep on the plane anyway, so he never has.
Scott, we flew over to play in Budapest, and Scott and I kept looking over at Norwood, just sleeping, catching all the hours of sleep. We're like, how's he do it? Scott and I kept looking at each other like, oh, I'm going to be jet lagged when I get there, but oh well. We just kept looking at Norwood.
Well, I mean, Norwood, remember, he flew to Budapest for one day.
Yeah.
And flew back.
Yeah. He came in, played
touring with George Clinton.
Right.
Yeah. Well, damn. Well, Norwood, so are you
diapers?
You got a gig or you done?
Wait, say that again.
Flying home, or do you have another gig with George?
No. I'm flying home in the morning. I think everybody's flying out tomorrow.
Gotcha. All right, well, we've got David. Anything else like about JBL that we should?
I was just going to say that, one of the things when you were talking about JBL, I've been in part of the kind of the family for a long time, like back with Mark Gander days and Ken Lopez. So we actually did a JBL tour with the Tower Power horns and all that stuff. But what I wanted to say was, JBL's always been on the forefront of really thinking about technology. I'd actually built a studio called Earmax. And was developing a thing called visual sound, where I was using MIDI-based tripods with microphones and zooming to make sound and picture together. JBL came through, man. I mean, they basically outfitted my entire system. I mean, it was crazy because everybody had these near-field monitors. They gave me one of those 3200 consoles at the time that sat in the middle of the room with the band all around. So they were there. Man, I love JBL. I thank you very much because you've been a great, really great for me and the people for many, many years. And it's been a great group of people to be around, really, truthfully.
Take a moment to make a little plea for
free speakers.
Speak up so we can hear it.
I'm going to speak her up.
We're going to speak up.
I have a suggestion that I think, you can give me a royalty to make the suggestion, but I'm just kidding. I think that you guys need to reissue
K120.
K120s are all right. Look at a lot of old amps, a lot of amazing recordings, a lot of amazing artists, whether it was like everybody.
I love it tonight.
Okay, old Fenders or amps, and you see this big silver cone in the center. They were the K120s, and they sound amazing.
Well, the good news.
Such a great speaker.
He's got good news.
No, well, hang on. Well, generally speaking, we keep reissuing the L100, right, which is the old 4312 studio monitor. So we had a nice, we keep doing nice classic versions of that. But we've been refreshing. We've been busy for the last 3 years, refreshing the Eons, the PRXs, the SRXs. So like here at NAMM, we're showing all the work we've been doing through the pandemic and R&D. All of it done in Northridge, California, where we have our anechoic chambers, our power test room. And if you have not been there, I invite you over to see how we torture JBL speakers to the breaking point.
Just don't take your headphones off.
If you reissue those, I will do an ad in a Speedo for you.
Oh, really?
That's a reason. That's clearly a reason not to.
Oh my God! No!
Okay, I'll wear a snowmobile suit.
I'll send that to the product team as a
Okay.
suggestion and the marketing team.
Perkins will be in the bunny suit, and Kenny will be in the Speedo.
We'll do a tie.
Hey, you guys, I wanted to say something real quick. The Beatles stopped touring because they couldn't hear themselves on stage. And Keith Richards came up with the idea of having a separate monitor mix and a separate mixing board. And they'd only put vocals in it. But basically, the Stones came up with the first wedges. No one could hear the vocals. They weren't interested in kick drum and other things. They had amps. But if you look at the old pictures, like Sabbath, they had the amps behind the drum set. And the only thing going through the PA was vocals, maybe bass drum or overheads. But it's so amazing what the PAs and what systems can handle now when you go to a concert, and what kind of how much has changed in the last 50 years. But thanks to companies like JBL and Harman, you make us sound and look good. So thank you.
Well, our objective is to, whether you're an amateur just breaking in and you need something simple but powerful and reliable, we want to be through the whole lifetime of the artist, because we hope that young woman who's sitting in her bedroom and she's gigging on a little portable PA someday sell out arenas, and JBL on her rider, and her whole journey from beginning to end.
There's nothing cooler when you're on stage with a really hot chick and she says, "I need more of Kenny in my wedge."
There it is.
Oh God! Okay.
Now we changed the rating.
Okay. Wait! One more question. So, just tell us why you are here, because this is Hall A. You guys have a primo spot. So, is this something special this year at NAMM for you?
Yeah, just really quick. We have two activations. One's our standard Harman booth, where we're showing the stuff on the JBL, the AKG side, etc. But we noticed that that NAMM was not providing the space for content creators in the media to do something really special. And it's no fault of their own, right? You give the media a skirted table in a conference room and a power drop and a cup of coffee and call it a day. But shows like yours and others, that's not the new way people are covering NAMM. Listen, we're at 121 years of NAMM. And with that has been 120 years of media coverage. Wow. Where it used to be newspapers that carried the message of what was new in pianos. And now with the internet and shows like this and people with just a simple phone are spreading the word. And we're here to make it easier to spread the word. We're using the truck trailer to do sound recording. We're using the show floor with step and repeats and lights and cameras and all that.
And whoever thought of it marketing wise, it's genius because everybody's got all their own audiences, right? And JBL.
Yeah.
It's a great marketing.
Thank you for hosting.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, and have a great rest of your show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We are getting down to it. We still have a little bit of time. You know, I have another clip that last night, like some vibe of what was going on last night.
Oh, I missed this.
What is this? I missed it too.
I'm gonna go ahead and cue that up right now.
Is this a Glenn's party or something?
Reminds me of remember Lulu?
I told my guy friend that you're Pete Townsend, so play it off. Come here. Does he not look like Pete Townsend?
Are you? By the way. No. By the way, gosh.
Who was on bass, Kenny?
Tim Tate.
Tim Tate. Dude,
that
was bad. That was just the vibe. Like, this is the first NAMM. People are getting a little loose. I mean, that was in a hotel room at the Hilton Hotel. So there it is. And we didn't get kicked out.
What time was that?
That was like.
No, they said it got kicked. You and I left. We left at the right time.
Okay.
We went in there.
Eventually, it got shut down.
We got there. We left before
like midnight, 1 o'clock. What time?
I don't know. We left before that. It was a school night.
It's a school night. Remember when we didn't care if it was a school night?
Yeah, but once Kenny, let's be honest. Once someone else picked up the guitar, it wasn't as pleasant, and the cops came.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what else I want to say? Kind of interesting too. So, our buddy from Masai over here, we're actually broadcasting today, streaming on the blockchain. Believe it or not. And so this is kind of a little historic stuff. There's not a lot of this been going on, but yeah, it's the coolest platform for artists, right?
Yeah.
This is really the future where the artists can own the fans. If they decide to leave, they take the fans with them. They can get paid. They actually get their own coin and token. It's a crazy cool platform. I'm so happy that I'm kind of now part of this whole DSO community because of our buddy over here, Mr. Triplet behind the camera, who is like the
Mr. Triplet.
Mr. Triplet. He has triplets. He has triplets. That's how he got the name.
The same birthday as my son too. So
yeah.
Wow.
So I want to give a shout out to all our folks on DSO, you pioneers, right? You are the folks. So we're very happy to be here. Our friends over on Diamond app and stuff. And I can't recommend enough people to start learning what DSO is about. It's really important because it's actually freedom to control all your content. There's no freaking censorship. It's the incredible platform for the people, and we're on a decentralized movement right now. That's my whole thing, because decentralization means freedom for the people. That's why I'm an NFT buff, because that's freedom for the artists that can actually make money now. We're getting there. So thank you very much, guys, over there from Messiah on the platform, and we're going to start dragging a lot of musicians on board and let us take control back. People get to take control back. This is a great time.
Stop making everybody else rich.
Yeah, come on, that's right. I mean, we get to get rich.
Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just so happy to be at NAMM. I mean, literally, and Becky, a big shout out to Becky is one of the coolest people I've ever met. And thank you so much for being so kind to us. And yes, we're ready to rock and roll tonight. You can see us at Highway 39 in Anaheim. And then again Tuesday night at Hotel Ziggy in West Hollywood.
Yeah. Norwood, any closing thoughts? And you're on mute.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. I'm glad I did.
I think your technology. Start over.
You're all I was there with y'all.
You're broken up.
I know NAMM is its own
language.
Darth Vader.
Yeah, I've got some parting thoughts.
Okay, you're all broken, but go, Perk. Go, Perk.
Hey, listen, if you're a musician or an artist or a dancer or a writer, do it every day. That's what you need to do. You need to play every day. You need to write or dance every day. That's how you that's growth. Every day, even if you're not in the mood, play your instrument, write something down, dance, do it every day. That's why we're here. We're here to create.
Every fucking day. Norwood. Now I think we got
it.
Now. Yes. Now we got it. Yes.
Okay. Anyway, I second what Perkins just said. That was really, but the other part is, it is please, like, just put love into it. Like music is about like loving what you do, and it may not always be fun to practice, but if you love it, it pays off.
That's right.
Yep.
Amen, brother.
Amen, brother Norwood and brother Perkins. Here we go.
Yeah. And on that note, I want to throw a special shout out to Graham Cooper, who is our behind the scenes editor, who literally came out to the Expo Endorse Expo.
Artist Endorsement Expo.
Randy Fuchs' gig over there at Sound Studios. And he really went out for us. So thank you, Alex, for capturing this. Thank you, JBL.
And Mark Armentano and Eric Roy,
who sadly got a flat tire on his way down here. Oh man,
that word is hard for you to say though. The expo.
I don't know why it is.
There's one word that I have a hard time saying. It's spelled like.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
Well, there's one thing. Is it Basinger or Bassinger? What's
there you go. There you go.
See you next time on the Rock and Talk Show Beyond Backstage with your hosts Norwood Fisher, Kenny Olson, Scott Page, Stephen Perkins, Sheila Conlon, and David Moss. Executive producers Sheila Conlon and David Moss. Producer and director Eric Lloyd. Assistant producer and creative director Mark Armentano. Editor Graham Cooper. Theme music by ThinkX. Sponsors IK Multimedia and Lewitt Microphones. Artist Relations TPI Films. Special thanks to From the Earth, ThinkX, The Conlon Company, and Mac. Check us out on YouTube/The Rock and Talk Show, Facebook and Instagram at The Rock and Talk Show.
And there you have it. The
NAMM Show edition.
The Rock and Talk Show live from the NAMM Show 2020. We'll be back at our regular 2022. We're somewhere in the 21st century.
We lost a few years.
We'll see you next time.